The 4 ways we spend money in the second person. You spend your own money on yourself, you spend somebody else's money on yourself, you spend your own money on somebody else, or you spend somebody else's money on somebody else. I learned most of this from Milton Friedman. When you spend your own money on yourself, you tend to be real careful about what you're spending as well as what you're getting. If it's a big item like a car or a house, you're going to shop around pretty good because it's for you and your family, and you're going to negotiate a good price. Now, when you spend somebody else's money on yourself, like when the boss is paying for the meal and he's not there, you might be more apt to pass on that burger and fries and go for this steak and lobster because you're not as careful about the money as you are about what you're getting. Now, when you spend your own money on somebody else, like when you're buying a present, you tend to set a budget for yourself because it's your money, but you're not quite as careful about what you get, especially if you don't know them terribly well. Now, before we go on to the final quadrant, let's take a quick look at the careful scale. You tend to be high on the careful scale when you're buying things for you and your family because you're an expert on what you and your family want and need. As you move farther away from you and your family in city spending, state spending, national spending, and world spending, you tend to be less careful because it's just hard to know what a family might want or need in another country or state. Of course, it's certainly obvious that we're all more familiar and understand our own countries better than other countries, our own states better than other states, our own cities better than other cities, and certainly we know our own families and ourselves better than we do others. And that's why we spend more carefully when our spending is closer to home. And that brings us to our 4th spending quadrant, spending somebody else's money on somebody else. You tend not to be quite as careful about how much you're spending because it's not your money, and you're not quite as careful about what you're getting. This tends to be the least effective quadrant, and of course, this is government. It seems year after year, politician after politician, Washington proves that they're the least careful in spending money because it's not their money, and they don't know the people or places that the money's being spent on. So it's a good idea to spend that money in more efficient quadrants in the form of things like charitable write-offs, tax cuts, or vouchers for school choice. It's worth asking yourself, what quadrant is the next big government spending plan going to be in? Now that you know the 4 ways we spend money.